I wanted to hop on here and share a quick story with you about a spiritual experience that I had when I was younger. I was probably about 12 years old when all of this happened, but there was a cemetery that my mom and I used to go to where my grandmother is buried. And we would go there from time to time and just put some flowers on the grave or hang out. My mom would talk to her and things like that. For me and my sister, it wasn't really a big deal. We were just kind of doing it because my mom felt like she needed to do it, and we were just kind of there to support her. So ordinary cemetery, nothing crazy, but there was one little area of it in this little, like, I don't know, it was a little building with like tombstones in there with like markings and stuff. It was just a dark, dreary area, but for the most part, just a normal cemetery. So my mom and I were up there, and we were putting flowers on my grandmother's grave. It was her birthday, my grandmother's birthday. I never met my grandmother. She passed away a few years before I was born, and just never really met her. I saw pictures of her, never really heard her voice or anything along those lines. So we were there. My mom put some flowers on her grave, and when she did, she said, "Mom, please don't let these flowers fall down." And then we turned around, and then all of a sudden, out of like everywhere, we heard, "They won't fall down." And my mom and I looked at each other, and we were like, "Did you just hear that?" My mom said, "Did you just hear that?" I was like, "I did." And I was in amazement. My mom was like, "Let's get the fuck out of here." So she said, "Let's get out of here." She took off to the van, and then I'll slow it down a little bit though before I tell the rest. But when we heard that voice, it sounded like it was coming from everywhere. Like it wasn't coming from my right side. It wasn't coming from the left side. It wasn't coming from across the cemetery. It was like everywhere, almost like it came down from the sky. Like it was just absolutely insane. So it wasn't like there was someone that could have said something and then we heard it. Another thing, there's nothing around this cemetery. There really isn't. There's like woods, not even woods actually. It's just like nothing. It's just land. And so there was no way that we could have heard someone just say something. But to hear that crisp of a voice coming from everywhere and it sound angelic almost, it was just absolutely insane. And in that moment, I felt like I felt like it was in my imagination. Like I could see my grandmother's face in the sky, almost like she was looking down on us, smiling. And in that moment, I thought it was just my imagination. I didn't really think that I was or could see something like that. So my mom and I, we rode around the cemetery to make sure there was no one there. There was no one there. I know there was no one there when we got there as well. Like as soon as my mom got in the van, she was like, did you see anybody else here?" And I was like, "No, I didn't see anybody else here." So we drove around, not a single person there. And it was just kind of something that was like, whoa, like, did that just really happen? So for me, that made me realize that our loved ones are there like all the time. They are around us all the time. And I want to just express that really quick and kind of dive just a little bit into that. Our loved ones, when I thought about it then, I was like, they're around us all the time. And I thought about it like our loved ones are sitting there waiting for something to happen and saving us or something. But time isn't like linear like that. Our in other realms, time isn't a thing like we see it. So they are able to be there all the time, and they are able to help us. Our spirit guides, our past loved ones, angels, all of that are all around us at all times and accessible. So what I started realizing is if I started talking about my grandmother or thinking about her or that incident, I would feel like she's around me. And I didn't know that that was really bringing her around me. So now, fast forward a bunch of years, I am opened up spiritually. I'm able to speak with spirit and understand. I understand the spirit world much better now, and I know that she is around me at all times. She actually helps me with certain things, such as I do energy healing. She helps me with some of my healings and stuff like that. But my main reason for talking about this is I want you to understand that your loved one is there at all times. Uh, any past loved one that you have lost is always there. So when you start thinking about them, that's your cue that they are there, they're around you. If you start talking about them, they will shower you with their presence. If you ask them to make themselves known, they will make themselves known. They will start, I don't know, bringing down different animals and stuff like that. So, for example, if you say, Grandma, I want you to come down to me and just show me that you're there, you may start seeing cardinals a lot. Now, that's not that your grandma is like transforming into a cardinal and coming down to you. It's her spirit essence influencing that cardinal to come to you at different times. So if she wants you to know that she's there, she'll influence that cardinal to come and say hi to you. And that can be your little communication between each other and your little signal that she is there. Also, what you might realize is when you start talking about them, just like if you're at a family event, you start talking about a loved one, you start feeling like they are around you, or you start just feeling familiar with their energy again. And that's because they are around and they are making their presence known. In reality, you could talk with that spirit in that moment. But I encourage and like talk with them and then relay what's being said to your family. You can have a conversation with that spirit there. But my main focus here is just to tell you that you can communicate and don't ever hesitate to communicate with your loved ones. Talk to them out loud, talk to them in your head, and they will show you that they're there and they will be there to support you and they hear you, is what I want you to understand. So give it a try, see what happens. I will be back with more stories like this because I think that spiritual stories helps people understand that this kind of stuff is real, and it encourages them to not be weirded out by this type of thing and not to discredit the things that happen in life. And I think people learn best by storytelling. So I am just going to continue to tell different spirit stories. There's going to be a bunch of different stories, but I'm just going to continue to share stories because I like to share stories and I think that it can help people relate to those stories and help people out in different ways. So I would love to hear from you on if you are able to communicate with your past loved ones. And that doesn't mean like sit down and have a conversation with them, or it could mean that. But like, do they come down to you as a certain animal, or do they come down to you or do you start feeling their presence when you start finding a bunch of pennies, or did they used to carry a bunch of keys and you find random keys everywhere and you think of them? Just things like that. I remember one time I was talking to one of my friends about her mother who passed away, and as we were, this little, it was like this big, real little, white feather came flying right between us and just landed right next to us, and it was like, we know she's there at that point. It was just so crazy. It just came out of nowhere. But they're there, and I'm going to continue to share these stories, and I hope that you like them, and I hope that you appreciate them, and I hope you get something out of them. I'm going to try to tie them to some kind of educational purpose as well, just to kind of teach, because that's what I like to do. So anyway, I hope that you have a great rest of your day, rest of your night, and a great rest of your week, and I will be back next time.